And it's 10 eyes closed. Often when you see Ballora in the game, she appears to have her eyes closed, while other animatronics often have their eyes open because, you know, it's their eyes. There's definitely something unsettling about that fact that her eyes are basically always closed. It's like she's maybe lulling us into a false sense of security, or maybe it's just that she doesn't use their eyes because, again, they're an animatronic, so why would they actually need working eyes? You don't think that she's always watching you because her eyes are closed, but she also seems to always be watching you. Do you know how creepy that is? Like, how is she able to locate you when her eyes are closed at literally all times? It's like Betty from Riverdale. Like, I've recently been catching up because I'm bored with nothing to do at home or nothing to watch. Now they have superpowers? Like, what the hell? Like, why are you trying to make this a superhero show when the CW has canceled literally all of them with the exception of The Flash? Don't do this. It got bad. But it was kind of alright. But like, don't. And at 9, Ballora. Due to her eyes being closed, some have theorized a connection between her and the mythological demon or creature known as Ballora. The fact that her eyes seem to be permanently closed and even unable to open is a fact that people tend to focus on, and this, as well as the similarity to her name Ballora, is where this theory comes from, though it is more likely a reference that she's just a ballerina. In Irish mythology, a Ballora is a giant cyclops who only opens a single eye to destroy his enemies, cause, you know, he's a cyclops. Otherwise, it's known for having its eye shut. In Dungeons & Dragons, a Ballora is a demonic creature, often pictured with horns and wings, and people might have been pulling the name Ballora from Finn Balor's demon persona, if there are any WWE fans. I don't know, does Scott like WWE? And at 8, motivation. In the Sister Location game, where Ballora first makes her appearance, you are forced to shock Ballora into dancing at the beginning of the game. The frightening thing about this is the fact that you already know from the previous games that animatronics are often out to kill you. So, being forced to shock Ballora into performing just seems like a bad idea right off the get-go. It makes you feel like you're definitely going to end up dying, and you know what you do. So, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have shocked Ballora. I mean, then again, maybe also shocking her kind of saves you, because then, like, she's in, like, her dark area, and maybe the fact that she has her eyes closed is because her eyes are so sensitive to light. So, that's why she can see in the dark when her area is closed. But you shocking her, maybe it screwed up those circuits. You know, I'm just spitballing here, but what if it made it so that her eyes don't work properly, hence why they're always closed, and then that's why she has to rely on hearing to try to find you. Look at that. Coming up with theories around the spot.
Number 7, missing eyes. That's right, Lolbit is not just missing eyebrows, but is also missing their eyes. So I guess they don't have to worry about things dripping into their eyes. They don't really have them, in the conventional sense, at least. Which makes Lolbit one of the creepiest alternate variations on the Foxy animatronic. Namely because while Foxy as a pirate might be missing an eye, Lolbit is missing both eyes. Instead of eyes like Funtime Foxy, where Lolbit should be, there are just 2 little pinpricks of bright white light. How Lolbit lost her eyes, we don't know. It is possible, of course, that she was designed without them, like her eyebrows, though I'm not sure which idea there is more terrifying. Did she lose her eyes? Or someone like, yeah, we're gonna make this animatronic super creepy.
And at 6, more aware. Some animatronics in these games seem to speak to you through pre-recorded lines, kind of like the Iron Man characters at Disney World. You know, they just tap their fingers and it says a line pre-recorded by Robert Downey Jr. In fact, a good number of them actually do this. Circus Baby, however, is not one of them because she's possessed by William Afton's daughter Elizabeth, and seems to be more in control of her thoughts, words, and actions, considering how, again, she's possessed. However, Ballora, while not being possessed, also displays some additional awareness compared to the others. She talks to you when you are in the vents underneath her gallery, and her words and phrases seem to be outside any kind of seemingly pre-recorded lines that would actually make sense for an animatronic of this caliber. This either means that Ballora could be possessed, but she's not, so it simply means that she has more advanced programming due to probably being an intentional substitute mother, because, you know, moms can't say the same thing 25 times in a row. I mean, they do, but you can't program them to. Halfway through, and number 5 was almost German. This was actually first seen in a MatPat video, I believe. At the start of one of his FNAF theories, he showed us a clip from a live stream of his that showed what the voice actor Kellen Goff originally had in mind, which was a German variation of what we hear normally, which is honestly kind of funny, but also weird. I know that everyone has been assuming this takes place in the United States, but what if it actually took place in Germany? Actually, based on everything that happens in the series, it has to be the US. Probably Florida, if I'm being honest. Can you imagine those headlines? Like, Florida man slaughters 15 children while working for Children's Pizzeria, or Florida man dresses like Golden Rabbit in order to kill kids. Honestly, that's probably a thing already, if I'm being honest. I know a bunny man. Oh, he's in my hometown. There was a whole kerfuffle, like someone made a whole bunch of fake police posters about him. I read the article. Man, the things that happened there, man, I'm telling you. Oh. Thank God I'm in Toronto. Yeah, because nothing like that happens in Toronto. Is this a FNAF list or what? And at 4, her different jump scares. All of Ballora's jump scares are different, but they're also all terrifying. There are some jump scares where her face and eyes remain closed, while others her face opens up and reveals those sharp teeth and her eyes are still closed. But she also has jump scares where both the inside of her face and her eyes are open. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't like that. The only thing that isn't scary about this is the fact that she has purple eyes, which honestly just links her again to Afton. It doesn't mean that she's possessed. I'm just saying that it links her to Afton because of the color purple. Anything purple we need to immediately be suspicious of, and I think we've learned that at this point. Anything purple, even slightly, is going to get called out in the comments. Even my shirt. No matter how many times I say it was an accident, no one ever believes me.
Number 3, Help Wanted. Lolbit also appears in Help Wanted. Here, they have eyebrows, no hook hand, and a speaker, and a full body. Similar in appearance to Funtime Foxy. In fact, Funtime Foxy is also featured in the same version of the Dark Rooms minigame there. Here you must sneak through Funtime Auditorium and avoid not just Funtime Foxy, but also Lolbit. Lolbit not only has a complete body in this version, but they also get their own jump scare to show off once they catch the player in-game. So you can check that out too.
But ultimately, in at number 2, crawling. Scott has confirmed that Ballora actually only has 2 ways that she moves. She's either gliding around on tracks, dancing gracefully, or when she's not on tracks, since she can't really do anything else, she's forced to crawl on all 4s to actually move around. That's some creepy man. That's like a demonic lady spider from hell. That's like you downloaded too many Skyrim mods and then you got out of control. Talk about things that are gonna keep you up at night. Now, I'm just gonna be terrified of spiders with boobs. I mean, I'm gonna be terrified about waking up and seeing Ballora looking down on me from the ceiling. And then have her face open up. And finally, in at number 1, Security Breach. In Security Breach, we can eventually find a table surrounded by non-functioning staff bots. However, these staff bots, you can actually notice, are also seemingly painted. And it actually contains 1 bot for each of the Afton family members. Mr. Afton, or William Afton, being the one in the top hat sitting next to what is clearly meant to be the mother, one designed like baby meant to indicate Elizabeth since she ended up, possessing an animatronic, Michael sitting across from Crying Child who looks very similar to the Papa Bot, mostly because there's nothing else added to it, and the Crying Child robot who is sitting across from Michael, who fittingly is missing his head. However, a lot of people have pointed out the similarities between the Mom Bot and the Ballora animatronic, using it as evidence that the Ballora animatronic is in fact possessed by Mrs. Afton, or as these people are saying, Clara Afton, which is a whole other can of worms that I've talked about many other times. And while the 2 animatronics do look similar, and this is definitely something to take note of, I think that it merely serves as evidence that Afton built these animatronics in the image of his family, or at the very least he built the Ballora animatronic as a means of resurrecting his wife instead of actually having her possess the robot. When he made this robot, she would have already been dead, hence the design similarities and hence why he was inspired. He wouldn't really have made a robotic version of his wife if she wasn't dead, because I mean, like, they have 3 kids, so obviously things are going well there. And he only learns about possession after Elizabeth gets got by a baby, meaning that this is just a show that we were right about Ballora being a surrogate mother, or intended to be a surrogate mother, but not that she was actually possessed. And 10, Scary Scott. We all know Scott for being scared of Bonnie after and while he was making the first game. He got jump scared during his testing and honestly ended up having nightmares. Weird. Scott will have nightmares about an animatronic bunny, and I'll have nightmares about being tortured and feel it in the morning. Anyway, after this, we didn't really think about Scott being scared by anyone else. However, as reported by Scott himself in a Steam post, during beta testing for Sister Location, he got jump scared by Funtime Foxy. And while it may not have given him nightmares, we don't really know because he didn't say, he did say that this is the scariest jump scare from any of his games, meaning that according to the creator himself, Funtime Foxy is the scariest animatronic in town, at least by jump scare standards, and that's pretty damn impressive if I do say so myself. And a 9, Voice Mimic. Moving along to Funtime Foxy's actual abilities, as we learned from the FNAF 6 blueprints, Funtime Foxy is able to actually record parents' voices and sync them in order to lure children to their doom. So, does anyone see the problem with this? That's terrifying. Imagine getting lost while camping or something and then Funtime Foxy mimics your parents' voice to call out to you, and then it traps you or you're dead. Or think of what it would do to your parents after it recorded their voice. They wouldn't be of use anymore, right? And if anything, they could just counter it, like that classic thing of like, oh, you hear your mom call you from downstairs, but then you hear your mom call you from the other room upstairs saying that's not me. That would be the scenario if Funtime Foxy didn't kill your parents after you recorded their voices. Actually, this begs the question, are animatronics able to kill adults? And if so, have they? Because I feel like the cops would investigate the deaths of adults less than investigating the deaths of kids. Like, I feel like they would take those murders more seriously than like adult murders. But I mean, I don't know, I'm not a cop. But other than Henry, have any adults been in the series that ended up getting themselves killed by an animatronic? Probably, but how many? And an 8, Nightmare Funtime. FNAF VR is my favorite FNAF game and one that I've played the most. However, the game is damn scary. The pure agony of having to walk through a pitch black Funtime auditorium in virtual reality is one of the worst things that man can experience, and I will forever stand by the fact that VR horror is the worst thing that mankind has created. However, what makes things worse is that for some unexplained reason, when Funtime Foxy jump scares you in their darkroom in FNAF VR, they use the nightmare animatronic jump scare sound instead of the one that they would have used in Sister Location. We don't know why, but apparently it's not an error because Scott hasn't fixed it in an update or something like that. Also, in the Blacklight hard mode version of this level, if you bump into a clone of Funtime Foxy, instead of Foxy jump scaring you, you'll end up getting jump scared by Lolbit, letting me know that Lolbit's in the game. I didn't know this, and that's pretty damn interesting nonetheless. But yeah, I don't know why he uses the nightmare voice. Or sound, whatever.
Number 7, killed Henry! But not really. This all went down in FNAF World, which is non-canon and of course is all speculative. People think the desk man who appears to either end his own life or be killed by Baby is Henry. And of course the Circus Baby in FNAF World likely killed him of those two options that are possible. There are a few reasons why people assume Desk Man is Henry, one of them being that his death seems similar to the version that we see in the FNAF story, The Silver Eyes. Of course, people also believe that the Circus Baby that we see in this game is some other model of the animatronic and not the same one that we see in Sister Location. Still, she's a version of Circus Baby, so this still seems like a relevant fact to keep in mind. Could come up later. As things from FNAF World or the novels could end up being inspiration for stuff that happens in the main series of games.
And 6, Blueprints. The blueprints we get for Funtime Foxy differs from the others, and the other is something or someone is being contained, like with Funtime Freddy or Baby. However, Funtime Foxy doesn't seem to have any child stuck inside. Instead, I'm here to talk about the list of special features shown in the bottom right corner. The light activation sensor, which lets Funtime Foxy spot victims in dark areas, perfect for hunting at night. A parental voice sync and replay, allowing for Funtime Foxy to record, synchronize and replay your parent's voice, or the voice of others to lure a victim away from a crowd. A variable scent release like the love potion from Harry Potter, letting the animatronic lure kids away with scents if they couldn't record voices, and a remote floor anchor, which lets out a radio signal for tracking purposes and to anchor victims nearby, whatever that means. And it also helps maintain balance and stability. Physical, not mental.
Number 5, Sister Location. The whole reason that people mostly think of Lolbit as a floating head, it's because when she shows up in Sister Location, that's exactly how she appears. Add in the fact that her customizable character appearance also shows her mainly as a floating head, And, well, it all makes sense. In Sister Location's main game, Lolbit is no more than an Easter egg. She appears as simply a recolored Funtime Foxy head and is not seen as any real threat to the protagonist. Just a creepy head that's obviously meant as a nod to her appearance in FNAF World.
In it for hanging out. Was Foxy the one that hung the scientist in Sister Location? Since at the end of the game, before going to see Baby and ending up in the scooping room, you end up seeing that there are bodies of 2 researchers or scientists or whatever they are hanging from the ceiling like they were in every single thumbnail that had to do with Sister Location. But that begs the question, did the Funtimes, or most of the animatronics who were associated with those sides, do the hanging, or were they there the whole time? Or maybe it was Baby? Because it kind of just happened and we didn't really think about it too much because what happened after that? Like, were those guys hanging the whole time? Because I thought this place was abandoned when William was stuck between a wall and a hard place. So where were those scientists? Like, why were they there? Were they hanging there the whole time? We only see them when the light is shined on them, so Foxy could very well have hung them up ages ago. And now it's just like a rotting corpse that somehow stayed together because, you know, FNAF logic. Or the body could be fake. Too bad Foxy isn't Funtime Horsey though. At least then the dude could say he was hung by a horse.
Number 3, dead now. During the end of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, Circus Baby reveals her true, very villainous intent to consume as many souls as possible, hoping to continue her father's work. However, her victory is cut short when it is then communicated by Henry that he intended to bring her and the other animatronics here, luring them so that he could free the souls residing within them through destroying them and the pizzeria. The pizzeria is burnt down to the ground, ending the evil of the animatronics for good, and freeing the souls trapped within them, including that of Elizabeth Afton. At least, that's how it seems.
And it too, spirit to speech. Just how any Twitch streamer who enjoys a little chaos has text to speech enabled for donations over a specific amount. Afton Robotics has spirit to speech enabled for anything over 5 spirits, apparently. Since we didn't hear the original 5 animatronics talk until Ultimate Custom Night, whereas the Funtimes are talking up a storm, which doesn't really make sense to me because those speech patterns kind of seem reversed. Like, how is it that if they do have the souls of 5 different kids inside them that they're able to speak so well? Like, is one spirit dominant out of the 5? And how does Baby talk? Because she'd have 6 souls, right? And if that's the case, how is Ennard unable to talk? At least from what I remember. If Ennard was speaking, it was just Baby, or I guess Elizabeth's voice. Either way, Funtime Foxy is chatting up a storm in Ultimate Custom Night, but this more so goes for every Funtime animatronic. It's so backwards and confusing. Shouldn't they be the ones with garbled speech and groaning? I mean, like, I get it, it's for scare factor in the first game, but still, if one person equals 1 speech, why is it that 5 people equal 1 speech? Finally, in number 1, Showtime schedule. I don't quite understand the whole showtime mechanic from Ultimate Custom Night, however, I know that it can cause you to lose the night even if you've beaten the game. This is a rare glitch that causes the showtime schedule to run past the end of the night, so over 6 AM. If this happens, you'll end up getting jump scared at the end of the night when it hits 6 AM, which is incredibly rude because I won. I did it. I survived. And you block me? Frickin' rooster blocking piece of crap. Imagine this happening on 50-20 mode. Imagine winning the game on the hardest mode, but Funtime Foxy's like, no, nah man, not gonna happen. How rude do you have to be? And you people thought Foxy was a good guy. Guess again. Especially when you figure out that it's like 5 souls combined into 1. It's messed up, okay? I'm offended.
Number 10, official game will be delayed. Some of the facts on this list will be about the game itself, whereas in others we'll actually talk about things like its release and some of the trollalols from Scott that we saw leading up to its release, like this one. Scott Cawthon at one point wrote a community post on Steam letting the fans know that the official game would be delayed due to the fact that Scott had decided that he was creating a far too dark and scary game for consumers. He said that he wanted to take into consideration the fact that so many children play and love the FNAF franchise, and so he'd be taking several more months to rework the game and make it much more family friendly and accessible for everybody, and less like dark and scary. Of course, this was one of the scariest things of all that he could have trolled us with. The idea that the franchise we love for being so terrifying and all of its jump scares would be made less so? Scott, Why? Of course, this was revealed to be just another of Scott's jokes, and of course, Sister Location was released as planned on Steam, with none of the delays that were mentioned in this post. And of course, perfectly adequately terrifying in terms of its gameplay experience. Number 9, the vents. Speaking of the vents, though, this is probably one of the most terrifying aspects of the game, because with the vents in this game, you gotta crawl through them to get to other locations. And generally there is some kind of animatronic in there waiting to jump scare you and murder you. Do you ever wonder about alternate realities in video games? The ones where your character just died? And how that creates like a split in the timeline, and somewhere else across multiple timelines there are just a million versions of your character probably laying dead, gutted, or dismembered somewhere. No? Is that just me? Obviously, I've been reading too much sci-fi and maybe watching too much Rick and Morty. The vents are a terrifying mechanic design choice and mechanic in the game that are really good at making you feel more anxious as you move towards your task or towards the exit as the night comes to an end. The vents are basically an anxiety trap laying in wait, and, well, that is a fact. And friends, if you love FNAF like we love FNAF and you want to let us know that you love FNAF, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and maybe I'll stop saying FNAF so much. FNAF. Number 8, canceled due to leaks. Before Sister Location was released, Scott Cawthon and his team were obviously trying to keep everything as secretive as possible, which makes a lot of sense, especially considering all the secrets that were revealed in this game. Sister Location is like a game built out of secrets. Secrets and crawling around in terrifyingly dark vents, but mostly secrets. Unfortunately, despite some best efforts, sound clips from the game did get leaked prior to its release, prompting Scott to release a video that claimed it would be cancelled due to leaks. Scott, of course, was just lovingly trolling all of us, and fans noticed that the words behind the big, bold, terrifyingly sad message was actually an Easter egg. The script referred to a news article found in the game that claimed Circus Baby's Pizza World had been closed due to gas leaks, which meant that no, the game was probably not getting cancelled. In fact, it didn't get canceled, and Scott was just trolling us and also giving us an Easter egg. But still, for a second there, I think a lot of fans were terrified of the consequences of those leaks. I like how this maybe scared people into thinking twice about leaking pre-released game content in the future, though. At least I hope it did. Yeah, I don't know. Pretty genius move there, Scott.
And at 7, FNAF AR. Based on a teaser released by Illumix, a company helping with special delivery, we may see Funtime Freddy making an appearance. Now, I don't know how long ago this teaser was released, so I can't really make any decent guesses as to when we will see him, or hell, he may even be already in the game at this point. But as far as I know, he has only been teased based on what I've seen on the Funtime Freddy fandom wiki page. Like, the website fandom, not like a wiki page about the Funtime Freddy fandom. Is there a Funtime Freddy fandom? I mean, enough of you asked for this video that we ended up doing it, so I'm guessing that there could be. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know down below if you're a Fun Freddy freak or a freaked Fun Freddy. The second one being that you don't like Funtime Freddy, I think. I don't know. I wrote this, but I don't know. Tell me in the comments because I'm genuinely curious. Do people actually like the Funtime animatronics? Aside from Ballora, because like, thick. That's some Kraft peanut butter right there. Okay, that's enough.
Number 6. Things are not what they seem. One of the most frightening things about the game is how twisty the plot is. It leads you to believe that Circus Baby is your friend and the only animatronic out there looking out for your better interests, until it inevitably pulls the rug out from under you, taking away your one little piece of hope, your only safety blanket in a world of death and darkness. Circus Baby is revealed to be the main antagonist who plans on using you to escape and has attempted to do so before. This time she and the other animatronics are making a break for it together, and they want to use your skin as a suit to sneak them out. And you are going to be forced into helping them whether or not you like it, and you probably don't. Unless, of course, you play through until the other ending where you escape. But then again, there's no real escape from Ennard, is there? Number 5, Yellow Eyes. Speaking of FNAF World, in that game, the version of Circus Baby we saw was also different from the main series counterpart in terms of her appearance. This version of Circus Baby had yellow eyes. She appears after the Chica magic rainbow ending is achieved. Baby is one of the desk man's creations gone wrong, who ends up becoming his enemy. Some even believed if FNAF World had continued to be updated, we would see her play a more prominent role as a major antagonist in its next update. Number 4, Animatronic Prison. I personally think the whole location we explore of Circus Baby's entertainment and rental in Sister Location is terrifying. And not even just for you as the player and as Eggs Benedict, aka Michael Afton. The only character it maybe isn't such a frightening place for is Hand Unit. For the animatronics though too, Sister Location is a terrifying premise. They themselves are trapped in the Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, forced to rehearse nightly and perform daily, threatened with being torn apart if they don't cooperate, and with being electrocuted if they want a night off. Circus Baby's entertainment and rental, when you think about it, is like an animatronic prison for them.
Getting close to the end at number 3, abilities. Let's treat this like a dating profile, since you sickos love shipping animatronics with dead children. Let's meet bachelor number 1! It's Funtime Freddy! He's 6 feet tall, weighs 350 pounds, but that's all corpses, and has 6 special features. He has a proximity sensor coupled with grouping coordination to make sure your parents don't walk in on you. And he can even tell what is the best time to get a little crazy with his parental tracking and 360-degree pivot. You spin him right round, baby. And fancy something a little more interesting? Well, with his voice mimic, you can have any partner you want, but be careful of his charms. His luring abilities will have you begging for him to take you back, and with his 100% concealed storage tank, he will. Yes, killers, bachelor number 1 is a killing machine, literally. Thank you.
Number 2, William Afton exposed. I mean, this is obviously a good thing. William Afton is a bad guy, but it's more the way in which we find out about this, and it's implied that Afton even perhaps got away with these designs that brings a chill to our bones. William Afton seems to have been exposed in the intro cutscene before we get to the main menu of the game, and we hear someone interviewing him, asking him about Circus Baby's features. The voice tells us that they believe the animatronics are state-of-the-art, but that there are some design features they don't quite understand, and that they're hoping can be explained. The British voice we later learn is Mr. Afton, who we believe to obviously be William Afton, then lists off all of the impressive entertainment features that Circus Baby has. She can dance, she can sing, she's equipped with built-in helium tanks for inflating balloons right at her fingertips, she can take song requests, she can even dispense ice cream. The voice then responds, with all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton. This conversation implies that at some point William Afton was likely under investigation, and that the voice we hear questioning him is probably someone from the authorities. However, we also know that Afton would go on to do more terrible things from this point on, based on our very rough and very wonky timeline. So this means while people likely had some idea of what was going on, they were, for some reason, unable to fully stop him. Number 10, bells on her feet. While Circus Baby seems to be fairly quiet and stealthy in the games, her design actually seems to have a built-in alarm for her to be heard while moving. Although oddly enough, we don't hear or notice it at all in the games. Her feet seem to have little bells on them, or if not bells, as we can't hear them obviously, little shiny gold balls. While many of Circus Baby's specific design features seem to have a purpose, such as her compression pins, these gold balls' function remain unknown. We do not yet know for sure if they have some unspecified purpose or are merely a design choice and purely aesthetic. Number 9, her eye color. Circus Baby's eye color is very important, and not just the change that happens to it when she becomes possessed by Elizabeth Afton's spirit. No sir. Circus Baby's eyes were of course originally blue, but we do see them change to green after Circus Baby consumes Elizabeth. This is obviously meant to symbolize Elizabeth's spirit remaining within Circus Baby, trapped there, but also in a way changing her personality and possessing her. Green eyes seem to be something Scott Cawthon is obsessed with, or just he likes them, as they tend to also pop up all over the place in the books, and eye color itself is very much focused on. So it should be noted that Circus Baby and Elizabeth aren't the only ones with green eyes, but Vanessa, the security guard from the newest game, Security Breach, also has green eyes as well. And friends, before we move on to our number 8 spot, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you like FNAF and you want some more FNAF videos from us. Who doesn't? Number 7, the 2 technicians. You know, I always talk about the scooper when I do these lists, just scooping people. Everything seems to come back to that scooping room, but this time around, I'm going to talk about something that I feel like none of us really dwell on for some reason, despite how very awful it is. It's like something we all just forget because of everything else going on in Sister Location that is so terrifying. And that is the fate of the 2 technicians. On night 5, we learned that 2 technicians who were on site are still there, even after their shifts seemingly finished. Hand Unit encourages us to just leave them alone when it comes to their work, but also if we do run into them, to ask them, why they haven't left yet and encourage them to go home. Of course, we quickly learn that the technicians can't go home. They can never go home, in fact, because they were murdered. And we find them strung up on the animatronics stages. Number 6, her allegiance. We've talked about Circus Baby's villainous intentions, and we've talked about her good intentions as well. So what side is Baby really on? To understand that, we need to take a closer look at her motivations in the games. Overall, it seems like she wants to be free and will attempt to get what she wants at any cost. This might also imply that on a subconscious level, wanting to be free actually means more than escaping her captivity at Circus Baby Entertainment and Rental. The desire for freedom might also be coming from Elizabeth's spirit, who longs to finally move on following her death. This makes Circus Baby more complex than just being lumped into a villain or a hero category. If anything, this makes her initially at least an anti-hero with villainous tendencies. After all, in Sister Location, she attempts to help the other animatronics as well, but of course has to do some pretty unsavory things to do so. However, once Circus Baby becomes Scrap Baby in the games, she reveals that she really is the big bad when she confesses her desire to consume as many souls as possible. Oh boy.
Halfway through into number 5, Mangled. A lot of people seem to think that we have an idea that Funtime Foxy and Mangle are related. If anything, that Funtime Foxy is either a rebuilt version of Mangle, an alternate Mangle model, or that Mangle is a run-down and destroyed Funtime Foxy, since Mangle is taken apart and put back together by children on the regular. This is based on the rosy cheek design of both characters, since there isn't really much to look at other than Mangle's face. Well, in Mangle's sense. Funtime Foxy has more going on, but not Mangle. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, like, it would make some kind of sense, but it would also still be kinda an issue, at least in a timeline sense, at least based on how we currently understand the timeline. But what do you think about this? Do you think that Mangle is just a torn up Funtime Foxy, or do you think that Funtime Foxy is a rebuilt version of Mangle? I mean, maybe it would make sense in a timeline sense. I don't know anymore. I'm confused. I've said sense too much. FNAF has broken my brain. Let's just move on.
Number 4, To Be Beautiful. Some believe that Circus Baby is actually the animatronic who claims to be named Eleanor in the story To Be Beautiful, out of the book Fazbear Frights #1. Whether or not you believe the books to be canon, you have to admit that Eleanor does bear a strong resemblance to Circus Baby. She does appear thinner and taller, more grown up looking than Baby, but it is possible Circus Baby is using her pins here to manipulate her appearance. After all, Circus Baby herself is actually 6 feet tall, or I think a little bit above that, might even be 6'9" actually, so she herself is really tall and could be using her compression pins to alter her shape here. If it is true that Eleanor is indeed Circus Baby, this means that Baby isn't only capable of changing her appearance, but is also able to change the appearance of others too, like she did with Sarah in the story, performing surgery on her while she slept, swapping out her human parts for junkyard ones. Number 3, Killer Animatronics. I mean, it's no wonder the animatronics that we meet in Sister Location were locked away in what feels like a prison. They appear to be killer robots. In fact, although this is more theory than fact, it appears that they were designed purely for the purpose of kidnapping and killing. Circus Baby herself admits to having blood on her hands and shares with us how her programming seemed to make her very interested in monitoring the number of children in the surrounding area. It was only when children were alone and vulnerable that she seemed to feel the urge to potentially hurt them. Other than that, she was more than happy to enjoy the party and enjoy performing. This implies a sinister sub-program perhaps that could have resided within her and within all of the Funtime and other animatronics within Circus Baby's entertainment and rental. Number 2, Heather Masters. Heather Masters is the one responsible for providing Circus Baby's voice in Sister Location. And while Circus Baby is seemingly gone from the world, being burnt up, it should be noted that Heather Masters will still be doing voice work for the game franchise, loaning her voice to that of the security guard in Security Breach, Vanessa. I'm not saying that this means anything. I mean, it could just be that Scott Cawthon really loves Heather's voice and working with her. But like the green eyes belonging to Circus Baby and Elizabeth that I mentioned before, this is just another connection we can draw from Circus Baby and the Aftons to Vanessa. Number 1, possible return? This isn't so much of a fact as a theory, but hey, a lot of our facts in FNAF often start out as theories that are either confirmed or denied by the story that we follow in the game. So take this one with a grain of salt, but keep in mind that it could possibly be true, or some of it could be true at least. Some think that Vanessa and Vanny could be the same person, which could very well be true, and their names are super similar as well. But what if this is a mislead and Vanessa is also, or is instead, a relative of the Aftons? What if she is Circus Baby who somehow survived with Elizabeth's soul intact and is assuming a human form? Or what if she is Elizabeth and Michael's mom and William Afton's wife? It's possible that we could see the return of Circus Baby in Security Breach somehow, given that we know Heather Masters is involved and the connection of those green eyes with a storyteller who often uses eye color to connect the dots for us. I'm just saying, Scott's all about eye color, so it's gotta mean something, right? Right?
And a 10 designed for kids. All Funtime animatronics were designed to entertain kids. However, knowing what we do about the man behind the designs, we know that's not what they were meant for in the long run. Sure, it's an easy facade. It makes sense why these robots would be so close to kids because they're entertaining them. It's what they were designed to do. But when I say designed for kids, what I really mean is designed to swallow them whole like the deepest pits of hell and keep them inside a special child containment unit inside their torso so that William Afton can kill them and use their spirits for experiments with Remnant, a metallic alloy of animatronic endoskeleton and child soul juice. Child soul juice, now that I think about it, sounds like something else entirely because it's used to make children and their souls, unless they're ginger. Hey, I'm allowed to say it, I'm a ginger too. I just took enough souls that it doesn't really look like it anymore. I have a picture on my Instagram, it's just bright red. And a 9 best buds. For those of you who have just looked at a picture of Funtime Freddy, you can probably see that he's not alone. The Bonnie puppet on his hand is named Bon Bon and is designed like the original Bonnie animatronic, but with the color scheme of Toy Bonnie from FNAF 2. But there is more to this puppet than meets the eye. Bon Bon actually helps calm Freddy down as seen in the Breaker Room minigame during Night 2 of Sister Location, the 5th game in the FNAF series. I don't know how an animatronic hand puppet calms another animatronic down, especially when they aren't even possessed at this point, only becoming possessed after being combined with the Remnant and creating Ennard along with the other Sister Location animatronics. The only animatronic from that game that's possessed at this point is Baby. Nevertheless, Bon Bon acts as a sort of mini conscience that also decides to kill you during another minigame in that very same game. Gotta love those killer consciousnesses. Consciousnesses? Consciousness-I? Consciousness? And it ain't taking control. The Sister Location animatronics get combined into one in the form of Ennard at the end of the game. Well, technically not, since the actual ending has you getting scooped and the endo spaghetti being shoved inside you, but the actual entity of Ennard was originally mostly controlled by Circus Baby. See the clown face and the fact that Baby was the most popular character and basically the main antagonist of the game, considering how it's your sister, because she was possessed by Elizabeth Afton, and she's the reason why you're down there in the first place. And while that's all well and good, things don't really stay that way. During the story sometime between games 5 and 6, Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator, Baby and the rest of the Ennard clan get into a fight. After this fight, as shown in the source code for ScottGames.com and FNAFworld.com, Baby gets ejected or removes herself from the Ennard clan. After this, they need to find a new face, and that's where the creation of Molted Freddy comes from Pizzeria Simulator. Funtime Freddy takes control of Ennard when Baby leaves a power vacuum, and that's why Ennard goes to using a Freddy face, because it's Freddy who's controlling.
And it's 7, singing. Ballora is said to be talented at dancing and singing. Her goal is to get children active and, like, apparently dancing while they balance out all the pizza that they eat. I mean, it's kind of like a dumbed down Mazercise. You get to experience her singing firsthand in Sister Location, though, where you hear her sing in a really creepy voice. Like, goddamn, this thing will send shivers down your spine. She appears to mainly focus on one melody, and one of the lines that you can hear her sing in the game goes as follows. I roam these halls alone all day, but now you're here, friend and prey. Yikes. She also sings about hearing your flesh and bones. So, yeah, but you know what? I think that a lot of people sing about that, or at least the people I've hung around sing about that a lot. I don't really sing about it, I more like describe it, but I mean, I've dated people who sung about it. I think that's what they were singing about anyway. It got disturbing, so I kind of like tuned it out. And it's 6 stuck together. Speaking of being thick. While having your best friend stick with you through thick and thin is amazing, it can still sometimes be too much and you might need a break before you actually snap their neck. But in this situation, these two puppet pals, Bonbon and Funtime Freddy, might actually be stuck together. Looking at the blueprints for the Funtime Freddy animatronic shows us that there isn't really a hand inside of Bonbon and it's just more wiring. That makes sense since it's literally just one robot and there's no way a giant robot hand is gonna fit into that little puppet. It's like when you see a couple and one of them is like 7 foot tall and the other one's 5 foot nothing. Oh, the amount of times I've seen that is kind of concerning. However, this is weird because FNAF VR's Night Terror room featuring Funtime Freddy, you can see that he does in fact have another hand. Can he remove Bonbon and put another hand on? Is this an oversight by the dev team? Or is it just that this is in fact a hand inside a Bonbon that we aren't seeing in the blueprints or wireframes? No idea. This is a facts list and I have no idea. You're welcome. Quality content.
Number 5, The Fate of Elizabeth. The fate of Elizabeth Afton was dark and inevitably revealed in the Sister Location game. Here, it was heavily implied that Elizabeth was the daughter of William Afton, who made the animatronics. Circus Baby, she says, was made just for her, and she wonders why her father won't let her play with the animatronic. When he is not looking, she manages to sneak away to do just that. Circus Baby lures Elizabeth away from the crowd of the party with ice cream and ends up scooping her or devouring her, depending on how you want to look at it, taking Elizabeth within herself and now holding on to her soul. It's implied that this action kills Elizabeth, though we still don't know how it affected William. If Elizabeth really was his daughter, this may have been something that pushed him only further into a homicidal rage, unless he intended for this to happen. The reasoning behind William's motives are just always murky at best. Why would you even make a murderous animatronic for your daughter? I don't know. But like many, I'm interested to find out Afton's motivations there.
And at 4, Funtime Auditorium. The Funtime Auditorium is a stage room in Sister Location and is the main setting for the Funtime Foxy dark room in FNAF VR. However, this is also the location of Funtime Freddy, who does make an appearance in the dark room with Funtime Foxy, and in Sister Location there is actually a yellow-eyed endoskeleton named Yendo, who can very rarely take the place of Funtime Foxy. Yendo seems to resemble Funtime Freddy with slightly broader shoulders and nothing other than the wire of the endoskeleton. It's very odd and I don't think he makes an appearance in any of the other games, even in FNAF VR or Ultimate Custom Night. But it's still interesting to think that a variation of Freddy Fazbear has his own variation. Perhaps he was the prototype Funtime Freddy? What do you think the purpose of Yendo is? Is he just another endoskeleton or was he something more? Let me know what you're thinking and your theories down below. Maybe he's the Stitch Wraith. If you guys want like a Stitch Wraith list, let me know because that would be dope. Put it in the comments.
Getting close to the end in number 3, Ennard. In Sister Location, Ballora ends up getting scooped out by Baby, at least I'm pretty sure it was by Baby, and then her parts end up being used to help create Ennard. Her endoskeleton is used to form his upper body, and her eyes are used to help him disguise himself more successfully as a human, even though they only really serve as design until he shoves himself into Ennard. I mean, like, you can see all the eyes all over his body, and then when he spits them out like Ennard spaghetti, you can see just eyes flying out of him. So, I don't know why that part's listed on the wiki, but hey, who am I to argue with the wiki? You know, I'm me. I'm gonna argue with every robot I can.
And a 2, Impractical Design. I know that he's a robot from a fictional game series that might even be fictional in the game world, but come on, you have to admit that they could have been designed more practically. When we see these animatronics without their faces, or hell, even without any of their shell, there's just too much material. We've seen Endo and we've seen Yendo. Endo is a normal animatronic endoskeleton. It would be what Chuck E. Cheese robots use, or hell, it's even what Trigger Me Elmo uses. But Yendo is just clunky and huge. He has too much metal for those things to make sense. It's a waste of material and money that no company would approve of. Even if you are using them to kill kids, there is no need to add flesh to your robots. Just have the tank be hidden by the shell. And there is literally no need for the face to come apart like that, aside from it making the game scarier. You don't want kids to be afraid of these if you're trying to lure them in, okay? That makes no sense and it's incredibly impractical. Business class. It taught me something. Kind of. Finally, in at number 1, it's just an illusion. Everything is not what it seems when you have a little disc that can make you see things. You better run, cause there's trouble if you see normal things, because everything is not what it seems to. But no, with the addition of the sound illusion disc first introduced in the Twisted One's novel, we can't really trust anything we see anymore. We know that Freddy has a disc on him since we see it when we service him in Sister Location, and we know they exist outside of that since they've also been used on Michael in FNAF 4 to make him see the nightmare animatronics, unless you go by the dream/coma theory. These discs exist canonically within the series. Hell, it could even be why the Bonnie Paper Pal moves into your office in FNAF 2 and 3. It could be Springtrap using the illusion sound disc on you. It could also explain the hallucinations. Why he couldn't just make himself invisible, I'm not sure, but maybe it can't do that. Everything we know about the series could all just be because of the discs, and hell, even the discs themselves could be because of the discs. Wait, that doesn't make sense.
Number 10, Funtime Lolbit. Lolbit is obviously a variation on another female version of the animatronic. We are talking here about Funtime Foxy, where Funtime Foxy is pink and white in terms of coloring. Lolbit instead is orange and white with purple accents. Lolbit's bow tie and cheeks are purple as well as their lipstick. Lolbit basically is like a bolder version of Funtime Foxy, at least in terms of her color scheme. Number 9, LOL. LOL. In Ultimate Custom Night and Sister Location's Custom Night, Lolbit can appear as an obstacle. If Lolbit pops up on the computer screen, you must type LOL quickly into your keyboard or tap the keyboard if you're playing on mobile. Avoiding to do so will result in you losing all control and visuals, as Lolbit's standby screen will appear for a short while. If, however, you respond quickly enough, Lolbit will simply disappear, leaving you alone. And friends, before we move on to this next point, if you are loving this list and you need more FNAF lists, let us know in the comments and give this video a thumbs up. Remember, every time you give one of our videos about FNAF a thumbs up, an animatronic gets their wings. Don't you want animatronics to have wings and fly around? It'd be even more terrifying for us. Number 8, missing eyebrows. A difference between the two sister animatronics is that Lolbit seems to be completely missing their eyebrows. It must be hard being Lolbit. I feel like you'd have very few ways to express yourself without eyebrows. It's unknown what happened to Lolbit's eyebrows, if they ever existed, though I think it's safe to assume because they're an animatronic that they were probably just designed without them. After all, they wouldn't be alone. Balloon Boy, Springtrap, Mangle, and Bonnie all don't have eyebrows either. But without eyebrows, what do you do if something wet is about to drip into your eyes? Oh well. Oh, well, wait a minute.
In its 7th appearance, Funtime Foxy's color scheme is apparently the inverse of Funtime Freddy, but in all honesty, they're just white and pink instead of white and purple. The animatronic is also 5.9 feet tall and over 200 pounds. It's honestly pretty damn terrifying and makes me shudder at the thought of a 6-foot tall animatronic opening its face and staring down at me menacingly and then eating me. Which may sound like a kink thing, but it's not. It's not, I promise. I swear, it's not a kink thing. This damn thing, while not having a very menacing exterior, is certainly going to rustle my jimmies if I ever have to stare it down in a dark alley or a dense forest after it's murdered my family.
Number 6, mostly a floating head. While in FNAF World, Lolbit did have a whole body, almost every other depiction of the animatronic has excluded their lower half, making Lolbit mostly just a floating head. Unless we're talking about Help Wanted, but we're not talking about Help Wanted right now. They are often depicted as being without a body or an endoskeleton. Poor Lolbit, they have no body to call their own. I guess they left their body all the way back in FNAF World. Hopefully one day they'll be able to retrieve it. Don't worry, they will. And Help Wanted.
How about doing a number 5, Sharp Teeth? Despite not being a nightmare animatronic and not being animal themed, Ballora, oddly enough, still has razor sharp teeth in her mouth for one reason or another, which mostly appears to be in the game to frighten you, because, I mean, I don't really think there'd be a practical use for them unless it's just for absolutely slaughtering children, kind of like Anakin. But, I mean, she has a few more human or like dull looking teeth in the front, but behind them, oh man, it's like a shark back there. It's crazy. I don't know why. Why was this a thing? Like, Scott, dude, come on.
Number 4, hook hand. Lolbit also has a hook for a hand. Well, at least the version from FNAF World does. This is another feature that sets them apart from Funtime Foxy, but brings them closer in appearance to the original Foxy. For some reason, their big jolly appearance combined with this hook hand just makes them even more scary to look at than Foxy for me. And I mean, I say that, but Foxy initially already kind of has a sinister energy due to their habit of sprinting and their kind of ramshackle appearance in FNAF 1. Something about how happy Lolbit is to be brandishing that hook that makes me feel super wary of them. It's always the ones you don't expect, you know?
And 3 Soul Sucker. In the original FNAF novels, at the very least, we learned that the Funtime animatronics are actually a combination of the metals from the first 4 victims. The metal that we came to know as Remnant was melted down and turned into the endoskeletons of the Funtimes, but they weren't separated beforehand, so each Funtime animatronic has 4, if not 5 souls inside them from the original missing children. Baby has an additional one at least, thanks to, you know, scooping Elizabeth. The others have Fritz, Jeremy, Susie, Gabriel, and potentially Cassidy, although I'm not too sure on that one. Meaning that this animatronic is more conflicted than my sister. And trust me, she is very conflicted. Well, at least she was. But she definitely still is, and is probably very unstable. She can't accept the fact that One Direction broke up ages ago. It's sad, really. And yes, she's sitting on the couch, looking at me angrily, and now she's making a very rude gesture with her hands. That's not nice, I'm telling Dad.
Number 2, FNAF World. Lolbit initially appeared in FNAF World and was later turned into a Funtime variation of the character when she was added to the other FNAF games, initially as an Easter egg and later appearing as an obstacle in Custom Nights, as we discussed earlier, and then a full-on antagonist in Help Wanted. In FNAF World, she had her hook hand, which was swapped out for a full hand eventually in her full-body Funtime version. Well, this version from FNAF World still didn't have eyelids, eyeballs, or eyebrows. She did have eyelashes, making her look very creepily cute. Cutely creepy. Not sure which. Number 1, all the variations. Since her initial introduction in FNAF World, there have been tons of little details that have been adjusted for Lolbit's design. The changes, however, are also more often so small that it can be kinda hard to tell which Lolbit exactly you're looking at. There's hook hand, no hook hand, eyebrows, no eyebrows, body, no body. Okay, so maybe a few of those differences are a little bit bigger than I let on. I feel like body and no body. But for such few appearances, one thing is for certain. We have lots of variations of Lolbit. I cannot wait to see if she'll become a more prominent character in the games in the future, and what else could possibly happen with her design. Here's hoping we see more Lolbit.